CZ Shadow 2, and this is the gun I'll be reviewing in this video. I have had an opportunity to shoot this already. I had it on the range last week, and I did an impromptu range review. So I'd encourage you to have a look at that, give you a little more insight about what I thought about it on the range. What I plan on doing here is doing a more detailed review of the Shadow 2. Just give you a quick look of the Shadow 2. Some really nice improvements in the Shadow 2 compared to the Shadow SP01. And I'll be going over all of those various improvements in this video. Now, what I will do in this review is I'll make reference to the Shadow SP01 at times, just to highlight some of the changes between these two shadows. As well, I will also make reference to the Tanfoglio Stock III, which is basically the brand competitor for the CZ Shadows. I have done a review already on the Stock 3 and highlighted the differences between the Stock 3 and the Shadow 2, and you may want to have a look at that video as well. So let's talk about the Shadow 2. Out of the box, really a very nice gun. The improvements are pretty significant on the Shadow 2. And something that I noticed immediately about pulling it out of the box is the weight of the gun. It has some significant weight. Certainly it is heavier than the Shadow SP01. And it is in fact muzzle heavy. That's how it feels to me. It feels muzzle heavy. And that's something different than the Stock 3. The Stock 3 is a more balanced gun. The weight is distributed evenly across the entire gun. But definitely notice the difference the minute I pick up the Shadow 2, that this is a muzzle heavy gun. Nothing wrong with that at all. First of all, I prefer weight. I prefer a heavier gun because that does contribute to recoil control. The Shadow 2 being muzzle heavy, that'll contribute to controlling the muzzle flip. So definitely I like the weight of the Shadow 2. So right there, that was a real nice plus, a nice surprise at the weight increase compared to the Shadow 1 or Shadow SP01. Now, the grip has been significantly improved on the Shadow 2 in a number of areas. The first thing that is very apparent is the checkering on the back strap and on the forestrap. Very aggressive, very sharp, very different than the SP01. And you can see that here. Nothing like the Shadow SP01. But it certainly looks like the Stock 3's backstrap and forestrap. So I think CZ has taken some of the good points of the Stock 3 and has incorporated it into the Shadow 2, because I do see a lot of resemblance in the Shadow 2 to the Stock 3. And certainly the backstrap is one of those similarities. So very nice, very aggressive, sharp backstrap and forestrap, a major plus for the Shadow 2. The other improvements are the undercut here by the trigger. That is quite a difference in comparison to the Shadow SP01. This is a much deeper undercut, as well as the cut into the pistol grip and under the beavertail. So all of that, the two cuts here, allow you to get your hand up higher and closer to the bore's axis, which is good for recoil management, recoil control. So the higher you can get your hand up, the better. And in this case, you can with the undercut of the trigger and with the cut into the pistol grip and up higher underneath the beavertail. The grip panels themselves are very nice. They are quite aggressive and sharp. I can definitely feel it when I run my fingers up and down on these grip panels. All of that, put together, that grip package really allows you to get a very firm, solid grip on the Shadow 2. That is definitely a very nice improvement, what CZ has done with the entire grip here. The next thing I'd like to discuss is the trigger guard itself. The trigger guard is more squarish. It's larger than the Shadow SPO1. You can see here how it's rounded and smaller. On the trigger guard itself, just like on the SPO1, you've got some checkering on the front here. So if you're one of those individuals who likes to shoot with their index finger on the trigger guard, some people do like that type of a grip. You've got checkering there to make sure you do get a good solid grip and your index finger will not slip off the trigger guard. The trigger guard is about the same size as the Stock 3. Stock 3 is a little bigger, but as you can see, there's some similarity between the two trigger guards. They're both being square and larger. The trigger pull on the Shadow, it's a nice smooth trigger pull. Double action though is heavy. It's sitting at 10 pounds on my gun, and I measured the single action at 4 pounds 6 ounces, so just under 4.5 pounds. In single action, definitely the trigger is very smooth, and as I said in my range review, the reset on the Shadow 2 is quite short, quite nice. The trigger as well is not as curved as the Shadow SPO1, and definitely is nowhere near as curved as the Stock 3, the Tanfoglio Stock 3. I prefer the trigger being less curved, just like the Shadow 2's is. I think that's a nicer trigger than the Stock 3. Let's have a look at the Shadow 2's mag release. It's an oversized mag release, and it has a paddle on it and some checkering. So that checkering is definitely nice and sharp. That'll ensure that your thumb stays on that mag release during a speed reload. Very easy to depress. When I drop my thumb down, that mag release is right there. It's quite comfortable. Very easy to depress. The mags, Shadow mags come out very nicely, smooth and fast in my Shadow 2. And I should point out that I actually run Stock 3, Tanfoglio Stock 3s in my Shadow SPO1, and I'll be doing the same in my Shadow 2. I just find that the Stock 3 magazines come out of the guns faster and smoother than the stock or factory CZ magazines. Now I'm quite lucky in that my magazines, my CZ magazines, work very well in both my Shadows. But it's not the case for many of my fellow competitors that I know who run Shadows. They tend to have problems with their magazines, that they stick a little bit, they don't come out as fast, and you will notice, or I have noticed, that many of them shake their mags right out of the gun because they don't come out easy. Now, as I said, I'm quite lucky. My mags do eject out of both my Shadows quite smoothly and quite fast. But I'll continue using the Stock 3 mags because I know that they come out just that much smoother, faster than the CZ mags themselves. As well, the Stock 3 mags, I've got some Eric Raffel extended base pads on here, and that really helps in ensuring that I seat the magazine well. Whereas with the CZ mags, it's flush, pretty much flush. So you really got to be conscious about getting your palm in there underneath that magazine to ensure that it's seated well. So for the time being, unless I change these CZ mags here to some other CZ mags with a nicer base pad, I think I will continue using the stock 3 magazines. Let's talk about the safety on the CZ. The CZ comes with a flat ambidextrous safety, so it's flat on both sides. But in the box, you get a second safety. And you can see here, it's made for a right-handed shooter because the right side is flat, and in the left side, where my thumb would sit, it has a platform on the safety itself. So that'll allow me to sit my thumb on top of the safety. So if you like a safety like this, well, it's in the box and you can install that, but it comes out of the box with the flat safety. I'll likely be changing it. I prefer to be able to rest my thumb on top of my safety. That ensures that my safety remains down. As well, what I really like about it is it gives me an ability to put a little extra pressure, downward, forward, downward pressure using the safety, keeping that muzzle down. So it helps. I find it quite useful. As a standard division shooter, that's the way my safeties are. They're all large safeties, and it's just something that I prefer. So I will be swapping out the safeties and putting in the larger one. The slide release. There's a slide release. It is very easy to get to with my thumb, and very easy to press. Certainly no issue there. It has enough grip that your thumb will not slip off. It's interesting the way it looks like it's a set of stairs. You might be able to see it there. And certainly that ensures that your thumb stays on that slide lock so that you can release it and get the slide forward quickly. The hammer is a skeletonized type hammer. It's a competition hammer. So that is different than the Shadow SP01, which is just a regular standard hammer, and same as the Tanfoglio Stock III, which is just a regular hammer. Is there any significant advantage to having this type of skeleton type competition hammer? I'm not really sure. I'm quite happy with both the hammers in the Shadow SP01 and the Stock III. So only time will tell. See how I like that particular this particular hammer. But it's easy to cock back. It has some serrations on top. Very easy to do. So let's look at the slide of the Shadow II. It has front and rear serrations. The serrations themselves are quite sharp. Something that you should notice about the slide is that it's sloped. You can see I describe it as being sculpted. It's sloped all the way along on both sides. To cock the Shadow II from the front using the front serrations, I find it very easy. To cock or rack the slide from the rear, because of the slope in the slide itself, I find that I've got to be very conscious of just how much pressure, how hard I grip that slide to rack it back, because a couple of times my hand has slid right off, and it has nothing to do with the serrations not being sharp, because they are very sharp. It's the fact that the way the slide is cut, the way it's sloped, it's not as easy to grip in the back in comparison to the Stock III, which is more of what I would call a standard square type of slide. So I think it's just a matter of getting used to the Shadow II. I'm not going to say that is a major detractor, but certainly it's something that I'll have to get used to. The Shadow II has a front fiber sight, quite nice. It's 1 millimeter, and that's smaller than the Shadow SP01, and it has a rear sight that's adjustable in elevation. So you can't adjust the windage. You would have to use a sight adjustment tool if you needed to adjust it left or right. The slide as well on top, they've milled lines, so it's a flat top, and they've milled lines into the top, so that helps in reducing any glare you may have on a very sunny day. So the slide itself, I think, is quite nice. I do like the serrations. They are very sharp. The only thing I've got to get used to is the fact that the slide is sloped, and when I rack it from the rear, I've got to make a conscious effort to grip that slide just a little harder to make sure that my fingers don't slip off the slide. The barrel in the Shadow 2 is not a polygonal barrel like in the Tanfoglio Stock III. It's a cold forged barrel, and as some of you may know, with polygonal barrels, which is what I have in the Stock 3 here, polygonal barrels tend to have a longer life and they add to accuracy. The Shadow 2, from what I saw when I had it on the range, shooting the 60 rounds that I did, is very accurate. I was getting nice tight groups. My gun is shooting a little low, so I'll have to adjust the sight on the next my next range visit, and get my groupings up a little higher. But otherwise, it was shooting very nicely, very accurately. The Shadow 2 overall is an extremely nice gun. I mean, coming out of the box, it is competition ready. It has a steel guide rod in here, which is different than the SP01, which had a polymer. You know, the trigger, the CZ does a great job on all their triggers. Whether we're talking the Shadows, we're talking the Tactical Sport Orange, all of their guns come out of the box with extremely smooth trigger and relatively light. The Shadows are very easy to adjust their trigger pulls. In the Shadow SP01, I've got a 15-pound mainspring in here, and that has reduced the double action from 11 pounds to about 7 pounds. And my single action, which was about 5 pounds with the original mainspring, is now sitting at about 3.5 pounds. I'll be doing the same thing with the Shadow 2. I'll put in a 13 or 15 pound mainspring. I know that with a 13 pound mainspring, I'll probably get the double action somewhere around 6 pounds, and the single action, I wouldn't be surprised if it'll be very close to 3 pounds. So this gun really is competition ready out of the box. There's nothing you have to do to it. You're getting a lot of gun, in my view, for the cost, more than probably you realize. So extremely nice weight to it. It's going to help with recoil management. I told you it was muzzle heavy, and that's not a bad thing at all. It's just something to get used to, especially if you're used to shooting something like a Stock 3, which is a more balanced gun. The Shadow 2 does come with buffers, little polymer rubber buffers, which I'll show you where they go in the event that you're not familiar with these type of buffers. Something else, as I'm trying to take the slide release out, you'll notice it's flush. It's flush with the frame. That's different than with the Shadow SP01. You can see it sticking out, so you really have to make an effort to get something in there to push out the slide lock. So once you've pushed the slide lock out, pull it out, remove the slide, and here you go. There's the guide rod, and that's where the buffer goes. I prefer not to run buffers in my guns. The way I see it is, if you're not watching that buffer, like checking it regularly, and it starts to break down, and it breaks down during a match on a stage, it could cause a malfunction, and well, obviously it's going to affect your performance if you have a malfunction on a particular stage. Could even have you lose a match. So I prefer not to run buffers. I'll try it. I'll leave this buffer in here for a while and just see how long it lasts. But otherwise, if I go into competition, I will remove that buffer. So in regards to those buffers, you get about half a dozen of them in your box, so you've got a number of replacements. But as I said, if you run the buffers, you want to make sure that you check them regularly, so that if they are starting to break down, you put a new one in. So that's the Shadow 2, CZ Shadow 2. Give you another look at it. It is an outstanding gun. The improvements in the design that CZ has done truly is fantastic. Very nice. CZ has made a series of significant improvements to the Shadow 2 that very easily closes the gap between the Shadow 2 and the Stock 3, Tanfoglio Stock 3. This gun, as I said, ready out of the box. And you're getting a lot more gun for what you're actually paying for. So without a doubt, I would recommend this gun. I have no hesitation, and you certainly will not be disappointed with it. Now, I will reserve my judgment over which gun I prefer, the Tanfoglio Stock 3 or the Shadow 2. I know that I won't be disappointed with the Shadow 2 overall. But whether I prefer it over the Tanfoglio Stock 3 is yet to be determined. I've got to get it out on the range a lot more, put a lot more rounds through it before I make that decision. Shoot it in a couple of matches as well. The Tanfoglio Stock 3 I've had for 6 years now. I've got several thousand rounds through this gun. I've had it in a number of matches, so I know that it performs. I know that I'll have no issue with it. I'm confident that the Shadow 2 will be as good, if not in fact better, than the Shadow SPO1, simply because of all the improvements. And CZ has got a good reputation in regards to the guns that they design and manufacture. So I'm sure I'll be extremely happy with it. And even without having shot any matches with it, I have no hesitation in recommending the gun. The Shadow 2 performed quite nicely on my first range day with it. It shot well. I didn't see any issues, but that was only 60 rounds. So time will tell. I'll get it out on the range in the next week and try to put a few hundred rounds through it, and then I'll report back and let you know what I thought of it. So hope you liked the review. If you have any questions, please jot them down in the comments box, and I will answer them as soon as I can. So once again, CZ Shadow 2. Thanks for watching.